Hey guys, it's Coach Gaglione here. This is another edition of our Gag Goals Updates. If this is your first time stopping by, I'm Coach Gaglione. This is Gaglione Strength. I've been involved with powerlifting and strength coaching for over 13 years. This is kind of this vlog is chronicling my weight loss journey and specifically my road to 198. I've been as heavy as 340 pounds, and I've been sitting below 230 most days. So I'm very excited about that. I had a low weigh-in this week of 226. I was 229 this morning. So I'm very happy with that. I've actually been increasing my calories a little bit, but I upped my cardio. I mentioned last week I started, I guess tomorrow it'll be 2 weeks in. I've been having kind of a medium interval day, a low intensity day, and high intensity interval day. I've been kind of using, on a medium day, I've been kind of using like a stair climber, stair stepper, whatever you want to call it. On the low intensity day, I've been using incline treadmill walking as the exercise. And on the high intensity day, I've been using an assault bike. And in any case, I'm using a higher rest to work ratio. And on the low intensity days, it's kind of a steady speed, more for active recovery. And on Saturdays, so that's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I've been doing the cardio. On Saturdays, I've been kind of doing some, when I have time, if I'm not traveling, I'm not doing some sort of engagement or event, I've been doing some yoga and just a longer walk outside. Just more for recovery, not really trying to go at a certain pace or anything like that. Just getting some blood flow. So my energy expenditure is definitely up, but I also up my calories a bit. So there's not like a huge change in the scale. I will be starting to cut my calories back quite a bit. I did notice this particular week, this was my first week kind of back in full equipment. I was kind of feeling that little brain fog. And if you guys have ever trained in equipment before, you know just that it's different than like a muscular soreness. It's more of like a neural fatigue. Almost like I said, almost like a brain fog kind of feeling. Which is very unique, and it's one of the reasons why I don't like to get in full equipment every single week. And we usually kind of do like a 2 weeks on, kind of 2 weeks off approach. So last week I was just in briefs only, or just training briefs. I definitely overdid my deadlift workout last week, and I kind of lingered, the soreness and fatigue definitely lingered on to this week. I could feel it, so like last week I did 555. I did for a set of 5 and just briefs only, and again I did wear straps, but I think that's the most I ever sumoed for 5, and also which one of the reasons is typically I don't do 5 reps in equipment, but I just was trying to get a little more volume in, if you watched last week's episode, I also try to put PD in his place. So I kind of overdid last week's workout a little bit, and I definitely felt that fatigue going into this week. So this was my first week back in equipment. I have been kind of running around a lot. I did some work with, if you guys definitely follow our Instagram page if you're not already. You can kind of see some of my kind of nerd out posts. I did some work with one of my former mentors, one of my old professors who I got my personal training certification from. We did a lot of work with biomechanics. We looked at the spine, we looked at the pelvis, we looked at structure and function and muscle attachments and anatomy and how the body works and moment arms and things like that. So definitely check out our Instagram page. There's a lot of cool, some different content. It's a little bit more educational. It's not something I try to, not to say I try to dumb down things, but I try to make things a little bit more simple. So we went a little bit more sciencey than normal, and I know there was some, especially the spine posts got like a really good response. So I was kind of running around a lot. Kendall, my admin, was kind of out just because she had some family emergencies this past week. So it was just a very hectic week in general. A lot of my coaches are going on vacation and things like that. So stress has been very high, and I've also just got a lot going on in my personal life, truth be told. So stress was definitely higher. I've been really trying to put a premium on recovery. I've been working on a little bit more massage and things. So the fact that I'm ramping up my cardio, the fact that I've been ramping up my training, with all that considered, I think I'm really happy with how this week went. I didn't have the best finish, but again, all things considering, I'm sure that fatigue built up. So on Sunday, I did another subtotal Sunday, and that's just basically like what we call, I've been kind of experimenting with this, especially early on in the training cycle, just to get a little more frequency in, because I'm just not as good at benching. I'm a lot more proficient at squatting, and as of late, I've been more proficient in the sumo deadlift. It's still something I'm working on, but I would say definitely I'm more, at this point, probably the bench is my least consistent lift. If I had to pick one out of the 3, not to say it's bad, it's just, that's just kind of being objective in where I'm at. So I'm trying to increase my pressing frequency a little bit just so I can practice the movement and the technique a little bit, especially that my leverages are different, that I'm down 110 pounds. It's really kind of been a fight for me to try to figure out my hip position, my leg position, where I can get good leg drive, still get my chest up and cut down the range of motion while still being effective and strong. And as you know, it's a lot different benching after squatting at a meet, so I've just been practicing that a little bit. I do like to separate in general. I like to separate, have a squat day, a bench day, a deadlift day. But just in this case, I've been just playing with just doing my heavy bench after my heavy squats. And I typically I usually do this more with females. I usually do this more with our distance members, just for logistical reasons. I like to have them do their heavy squats and heavy benches because it's more spotting intensive with us. So if someone's only able to come here a couple of times a week, that's an option why we might do that. If someone's a lightweight female or more of a novice lifter and we're trying to increase their frequency. But in general, as we get stronger and as we get closer to the competition, we definitely drop the frequency a bit. So it's not something I recommend all the time, but I'm just giving you some of like the pros and cons of why you might want to squat and bench heavy. At least early on in a training cycle, I wouldn't do this all the time, but I think it is a good tool. It's something to consider, especially if you want to kind of if you're into the more specific training and kind of practice how you play, and you're always going to kind of bench after you squat in the meet. So I think it's good to do that from time to time. It's also great in a time crunch. So I'm going to be traveling next week. So like next week, I'm going to be kind of unplugging from technology. So if you're trying to get a hold of me for a couple of days, I'm going to be kind of out literally in like the woods for a couple of days, unplugging and just kind of recharging, working on my business, working on myself for a little bit. So I think that personal development time is really important. So that'll be another instance, and after that, will just have my designated squat day, my designated bench day, my designated deadlift day, and then a secondary bench day. So I'll just kind of get onto the workout, and then I'll kind of talk about some of the programming changes that are to come next cycle. So I did a first full workout back this cycle in full gear. Worked up to, I want to say, I think I worked up to 5 or 6 plates and just briefs only. It might have just been 5 plates. And then once we got 6 plates, I put my suit on. Then I did 695. That was my first set in wraps. Went up really smooth, felt strong. 745 is like a projected opener, so I just kind of smashed that. I didn't have my feet, my pick was a little funky. I didn't quite have my feet right, but 745 went up really smooth. Had Elvis wrapping me, had Elvis to call my depth. Usually the Volkswagen Beetle does that for me. So it's just a little bit different, so we were kind of coordinating that a little bit, but I felt like the depth was really good on that one. I elected to go up to 800 pounds. The goal for today, of this particular day, was just to hit something around, my minimum weight was 765, so 745 moved really good, so I elected to go to 800. I did that with I did that with only a mini band, so if you guys are aware, a mini band's not really helping that much, especially with that kind of weight. I did cut the weight a little bit high, but I'd say it was about parallel, so it was very close to hitting depth anyway. To move good, like I said, I just kind of felt my balance was off, and I felt like I could have, using the Ultra Pro, I felt like I could have had the hips a little bit tighter, so I just kind of know that for next time. But it was a good session overall. I did some heavy belt squats after that, after I did my benching. So moving on to the bench, I've been using the Rage X with great success. I went up, it started out, did the bench freak band with 275 and 315. And then I put my shirt on at 385. I think I did that to a 2 board. Didn't really feel so great. The 3-man handoff was a little uncoordinated, but we got it down after that. Then I did 405 to a 1 board, and I moved really smooth. 435 to a 1 board as well. That also moved very smooth. And considering I only benched 415 last contest with a bum shoulder, I'm very happy that my bench is getting back on track. It's not necessarily where I want it to be, but it's improving, so I'm happy. And then I did 455 to a half board, which also went up smooth. All in all, I was very happy, especially doing that. So with the straight weight only, not including my reverse band set, it was about a 1200 subtotal, which is not a bad start. Like I said, because I'd like to, I want to hit an all-time PR total. As you guys may or may not know, so my best lifts in competition is a 900-pound squat. This is all super heavyweight. A 575 bench and a 660 deadlift, which I did in the 275 class. I've done 700 in the gym as well. But my best total is only 1950, so I just have never really put all my lifts together, and any time I've hit a big squat, I've sometimes been kind of turned down for depth and things like that. So I should obviously, if I was able to hit all my best lifts together, I'd be like well over 2100 at this point. But at the end of the day, you got to like do it on the platform. You got to do them all together in one day. So I should be on pace. I think if I play my cards right and kind of I have like a stars aligning day, I should be able to hit an all-time PR total, which is really exciting. The fact that I'm doing it in the 198 class. So things are looking good on that front. Did some accessory work. Like I said, I did some bench freak work after that, which is kind of like just like a tighter slingshot. We've kind of talked about in the past in previous episodes. Did some belt squatting. I worked up to my top set was like with 455, and I did a drop set with it. That felt really good. Still doing the belt squat with heels for the time being, just to keep my legs strong and not overwork my lower back or hips. We did some reverse band pressing on this day. I had Melon was our guinea pig for that. So that's cool. So we're going to definitely incorporate some more reverse band work. One of the things I think that geared lifters, a lot of times they get too comfortable with certain board heights. So I think doing a little bit more full range work and doing some more reverse bands is good if you have the option to do that, if you have a power rack. So we found a way to set it up. So we're going to be utilizing the reverse bands and bench a little bit more often. I know Mel worked up to 235 for a double. It was a good setup. We had a micro mini set up. So we used the same platform as our deadlift. We just put some blocks underneath the bench, and that worked really well. So I think that could be a great exercise if you do it raw for repetitions for a shirted bencher. So if you don't have access to a slingshot, the reverse band bench is a great option as well for overload. So that's a great thing. I'm excited to kind of do that myself. I did some raw work myself, and then I know Leo and Stevie did it as well. So they all did really well with the reverse band. So it's allowing us to get a full range of motion and still get the overload. So that's kind of the benefit of a reverse band versus a board press. And especially if you ever benched in a shirt before, it's like that last inch to half inch can really be tough. So getting more practice in that full range or close to full range, I think it's going to be very beneficial, but you still get the nervous system adaptation of holding that heavy weight in your hands. Plus the mental. I think there's a mental side of just having that weight in your hands and seeing it on the bar. You just get more confident, like if you handle that weight more often, even if it's with a reverse band or not. So that's the benefit of the reverse bands. Did some accessory work today. I kind of mentioned the cardio. So deadlifts, my back was still sore. It actually feels better now. We're taping this at the end of the deadlift day. It was one of those things. We didn't have any chalk. It was one of those mornings where just things were not going great. I'm kind of dealing with some issues in my personal life this week. Like I mentioned before, our admin was out for a couple of days. We're kind of a little behind the 8 ball on like a lot of things, and that's really no excuse. It's a good lesson. Like sometimes you just got to take a breath and clear your head. I didn't really do a good job of that. Mel was trying to get in the briefs. He wasn't getting in the briefs. Shit was like going. I was not focused at all on what I was doing, and I let that affect my performance a little bit. But I kind of knew, that being said, waking up, I was very sore. I did eat good. I had good nutrition. I spent extra time warming up. But I think I got a little bit too worked up too early. Like I was literally here, before everyone else. I had my briefs on already. I was being a psychopath. So that's just kind of, it's easier to say that after the fact that I've kind of calmed down. But that being said, it's really important that you focus on the intent of the day and just do the best you can. So I brought back, my plan was to hit 605 straight weight. Since I did that, I think might have been July. I did it last month. I hit a pretty smooth 605 deadlift. So I was just kind of looking to match that today and then do something reverse bands. I missed 645, very, very close. So I'm thinking like 605 is going to be easy. I might have been a little bit too cocky, but that being said, like when I hit the 605, I was very fresh. I didn't squat and bench that week. Didn't have all this life stress going on. So I knew after I hit, I think it was, 505, 520, 515, 525, I hit 535 was like my kind of like last warm-up weight, and just really didn't move that great. I just kind of knew, I don't know if the suit was not right where it wanted to be or whatever. I also had the tighter brief on, so maybe the brief was too much, but I was getting down to the bar fine, so I didn't want to blame it on just the tighter brief. It just didn't move great, so I elected to do 575 instead of 595. It moved fine. It moved, like in the video you'll see, it doesn't look horrible, but that's the kind of weight I kind of expect to smash at this point. So like I said, I was a little disappointed, but it was only 20 pounds off what I wanted to do. So in all, it's a very small percentage, not a huge deal in hindsight. So I elected, instead of doing 635 with the reverse mini, I elected to do 615 with the reverse mini. I had a very good hold at the top, even though we had lack of chalk today. So I kind of salvaged the day. And then afterwards, I mentioned before in some previous videos, so after I did 615 with the reverse band, I elected to do 505, just for a set of 5, just conventional. I'm still kind of working on my back strength. At some point, I will kind of not do that anymore as we get closer to the contest, but one of the things I think is really important for a sumo deadlifter is that you don't want to eliminate your conventional work, eliminate your lower back work too early on in the training cycle, because you'll lose that by the time you get to the meet. So that's something I found very helpful, is to kind of keep my conventional up for as long as possible. And then maybe when you're 6, 7 to 8 weeks out, you don't need to go as crazy with the conventional work, but I do think it's really important to keep that back strength very high. It's going to allow you to, good example, I think like Ed Cohen would, like bent over row is like a big indicator lift for him for all his movements. So he would continue to kind of work those up pretty heavy as he got closer to a contest. And then once you get a little bit closer, you might like kind of take those out. So if there's like a supplemental exercise, so for me, I know the conventional deadlift's a really big indicator of like my back strength. So I want to make sure I still keep that strong. So I did 505 for a set of 5. I felt like I could have done maybe 6, 7, or 8. So I was happy with that. That was kind of a good way to end the day. And then I did our, our patented belt squat good mornings, just because I haven't seen anyone else do that exercise yet. So we'll take credit for it for the time being, but I'm sure someone else has, but I just haven't seen video of it. So we did the belt squat good mornings. I did I worked up to 385 for a top set of 5, and then we did a little strip set. I did 405 for 5, 365 for 5, and then I did a wide stance 315 for 8, and that really smoked my hamstrings really good. I really enjoy the belt squat good mornings. Another thing to really kind of build the glutes and hamstrings. It's a lot easier on my shoulders. It's easier on my lower back, but you still get a good isometric contraction of the erectors. Really great exercise for the glutes and hamstrings, especially in the hamstrings. I just love that as a hinging movement. I find it's much easier on the lower body and the lower back than like doing an RDL or a stiff leg, and I can get a lot of volume on it. So very similar to how I think the belt squat good morning is kind of like the belt squat. For the belt squat is to like a low bar squat, as the belt squat good morning is to like a conventional deadlift. So I think it's a really good builder. It's a great way to get extra volume in. So if you have that Spud Inc. front squat harness, and if you have Matt Wenning's belt squat machine, or just any belt squat machine, I think it's a great exercise to kind of for that hip hinging pattern. You want to have kind of maximal hip bend and minimal knee bend, get a good stretch in the hamstrings, get a good moment arm between your hip and the chain, so you can really get a lot of work for your posterior chain and hold that isometric contraction in your lower back. So that's kind of it for this week. As far as what's to come, I'm going to do some incline bench tomorrow. So usually in the off season, I like the incline bench as a builder. I'm going to switch over to more dynamic effort benching with bands, and then also some floor pressing on my second bench day. So that's going to be a little bit more specific to shirted benching. So as I get closer to the contest, we're going to use more specific variations. Things are going to have higher transfer. So I won't be using the incline as much because I don't really need the delt and the chest strength as much in my shirt, but I do need the tricep strength. So benching against bands is going to be a really great way to kind of work my tricep, work my lockout, work my speed, and also the technique of the bench. And to work my setup. And the floor press is a great builder. What's awesome about a floor press, takes your legs out of it and takes your lower back out of the equation, but you can still get a lot of great tricep work. So that's going to be something we're going to be adding in. And then probably as we get closer to the contest, doing a little bit more work in my flats, a little bit less work in my heels, a little bit less work on my chest, and a little bit more work on my triceps. And I'm definitely adding more things like block pulls and things like that with the sumo stance that are going to be more specific and have higher transfer to that sumo deadlift. So that's kind of what's to come. We're going to be kind of doing like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, or more or less in equipment. So it'll be two out of the 4 weeks will be raw, and 2 out of the 4 weeks. 1 week will be like with probably briefs or minimal equipment, and then 1 week will always be with full equipment. So it's still kind of a minimalist approach when it comes to equipped lifting, but I find it's a good balance between strength and health and performance, and something that's been working well for us and our equipped lifters. So I hope this video helped you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to support the program, there's a couple of things you can do. You can leave us a 5-star review in Google, leave us a 5-star review in one of our podcasts or on Facebook. All those things are very helpful. You can also check out the links below, and that'll help support the program if you want to buy some products, get some coaching. All that goes a long way and allow us to continue to provide great content for you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if this video helped you. And until next time, stay strong, and we'll see you soon.